we have a lot of ornaments and not a lot of tree to hang them on. So by this time next week, we're going to have written our book. Well, not exactly, but we have a exercise that we are going to work through over the coming week to write our entire book in one page and summarize all of the important things into that one page. And we think this is going to be very helpful for us to make sure that we both have the same understanding of what we're writing, and it'll also help us to figure out any areas where we may still be a little weak in our plot. Now, this came on the tails of both of us seeming to lack motivation for continuing to work on our project. And so for me, that looked like we had all of this planning that we were trying to do. That was the next progress, was linking our scenes and our subplots and figuring out how they connected and where we were still lacking in a scene in this area, or we needed to have a subplot here. And it was a lot of very tedious work that I felt like didn't have much value. And I couldn't see how it was making progress. So it made it very difficult for me to be motivated to continue working on the project.
One of the things that you identified during that part of the conversation was that one of the things that holds us back is that we're afraid, probably isn't the right word, but we really are resistant to doing anything that's going to require a lot of rework, especially if it feels like it's going to be endless rework that's never quite completed. And so this exercise that you suggested, I think, will help us to identify what are the areas that we both agree so strongly on that they're going to fit into a one-page condensed version of the book. If they're in both of our versions, then we know this is going to survive. And if they're not, well, hey, we have an opportunity to talk about something.
Yes, it'll help us figure out which one of ours is more accurate to what we want the story to be, or how do we combine the two of ours. Because I will not be surprised if we come back together in a week with our summaries and there's a significant part of the story that I completely missed out on and is in his, just because we're not on the same page in our story. And it's a whole lot easier to be on the same page when there's only one of them.
Right. But we talked about how many different subplots that we have, how many scenes that we have in our book. And I mean, really, any book has a lot of interesting subplots, a lot of interesting scenes if it's going to be an interesting book. But we're just having a hard time connecting them. And part of it is, even when we talk about our one-page summary, there are three key elements that need to be part of our one-page summary. One is, what is the world level story? What is the second? What is the character level story? Within the world of the book, what is the science fiction part of the story? What is the character development part of the story? And then the third piece is, what is the impact on the reader? What's the connection to the reader's world that is important to us? So those three aspects.
So those are things that we're going to keep in mind as we are writing this one-page summary. And as we're talking about this, I'm realizing that it might be really difficult to pare everything down to one page.
Which is the value of the exercise.
Which is the value of the exercise, yes. This isn't some exercise that we found somebody else saying, oh, here's a good thing to do. It just seemed like a good thing for the position that we're in right now. I think it will help with the motivation because we'll be able to see our story in an area where we can look at the whole thing on one screen and see how things fit together. And we can then look at the individual parts of that one page and expand on those as needed and see, okay, this is an area where we don't have a whole lot and we need to look into that a bit more. But we need that big structure first. Right now, as you said, we have all of these scenes and subplots and all of these details that we want.
Overwhelming.
Overwhelming. We have a lot of ornaments and not a lot of tree to hang them on. So this is building that tree and seeing where we need to add some branches, where we need the trunk to have a little more structure.
Or which ornaments don't belong.
Yes, which ornaments don't belong and don't fit in the grand scheme of how we want it decorated. So
there is a metaphor.
Yeah, I'm still workshopping that one. So that is our goal for the next week. In our next video, I guess we'll share how this exercise went and what we learned from it and how that compares to what we were expecting to learn. But our question for you is, how have you seen the value of a summary exercise? Whether that's in writing or in anything else, how do you see the value of summarizing things? Let us know in the comments, and we will see you in 2 weeks.